that really stretches them and puts them in trouble.
It does indeed, Keith, and of course there's very little wind today, but kickers are so good these days, and they practice the art such a lot that in fact often they can kick 50 or 60 yards up the slope, and with kicking being a major part of the game ever since the introduction of the sixth tackle, then sides have practiced it.
Batley and Keighley is not a match that years ago would have excited much response from television commentators and summarisers, but as we said, the third division is working out so well that, all right, they may not be top division class, but they move the ball about.
Well, I think the standard of coaching, Keith, as we've said before, has improved so much. The standard of fitness is getting higher, and obviously this is spreading through all the clubs, not just the professional clubs, but through the amateur game as well. And it's so good to see the progress of the game, which was really stagnant in the 60s. And although standards weren't going down, they weren't improving. And I think now we're seeing the results of all the hard work that the director of coaching and all the coaching committees and Barlow themselves have put into this great game.
The interesting thing about Batley is that Jeff Gratian hasn't yet taken the field. He's standing in the tunnel putting some tapes on his boots. And there is Jeff. Wonderful advertisement for rugby league in every respect. A tough man, a hard man, can give and take hard knocks, and yet a real genial giant, a good-natured man and a great sportsman.
Well respected, I think, Keith, by players, spectators and press alike. He's been a great servant to the game and a tremendous player.
Keighley Cougars have taken the field now. The side that played much better at Wigan last week than the final score of 32 points to 8 would indicate. And there's the man who scored that brilliant individual try at Wigan last week, Andy Ayres, the fullback and scrum half, primarily a scrum half, came from Widnes, a bit of a scoop signing for Keighley. Shows what good scouts they had over the other side of the Pennine.
Well, he certainly showed a clean pair of heels to the Wigan defence last week, Keith. I mean, that was a superb individual try. I mean, 70-yard sprint. He certainly got pace, and of course getting used to his players, and Peter, I'm sure, will have him organising the plays. It'll take a little bit of time, but they're settling in very nicely. Keighley looked quite a good side last week.
The referee is John Whitelam of Hull, and the side's ready now to take up positions and kick off in this vital third division game. Batley, a reminder, could go top of the league if they win today, however briefly. Keighley need the points to pull up from 9th place. And it's Keighley Cougars to kick off. Inside the Batley 22. The forwards doing it a simple way to start with. Gratian taking it up. And second row forward Steve Parry, brother of Mick, who spent so many good years at Oldham. That's a good kick, very confidently taken by Jeff Butterfield, bearer of a famous name of a former England Rugby Union centre, of course, Alan.
Yes, certainly Jeff Butterfield was a great rugby union player. Probably would have been a great rugby league player. And that was a touch of class from Jeff Butterfield, took it well.
Mark Fairbank, remember the famous Alan Clan of Fairbank. There's the kick. Bouncing awkwardly. James Hamill had to stretch for that. That's 10 meters inside the Batley half. We're in the second minute. No score as yet. A little wriggle by Mark Scott. Gets somewhat gingerly to his feet. He probably took a knock there. That's a nice short ball. From Keighley to Parrish. Michael Booth, what a lovely delayed ball to Parrish, and that went to ground, but that was the first semblance of a handling move.
Yes, a little bit of a decoy runner there with the extra player, and then second row forward Steve Parrish coming almost from behind Michael Booth. A set play which worked very well there, just that final pass just going to ground, which upset the rhythm.
Now Keighley just inside the Batley half. Good running by air. Oh, what a lovely break. Keith Dixon. Oh, superlative try by Keith Dixon. Absolutely magnificent effort. A two-man try between the half-backs, made by Andy Ayres and spectacularly finished by Keith Dixon. As good a try you'll see anywhere on a rugby ground today, Alan.
Well, a super try. It shows the pace of these two half-backs. It's Andy Ayres eventually getting this ball and drifting across field. There's a decoy runner coming on the inside. There's the first of it. There's the second. And Ayres hits that gap superbly with a slack defence. Now here's the change of pace. A little bit of a swerve, a slow down, acceleration away, and doesn't he drift past James Hamill there. That's a beautiful try. Excellent control of his pace. Keith Dixon just going round to make the kick more of a formality for John Wazilu. That was a great try, Keith.
Superb start for Keighley. Of course, they did exactly the same thing, though not in quite the same manner, but Wigan last week with Andy Ayres' try. They made a good start last week. But certainly, Keith Dixon showed terrific acceleration then. Now it's John Wazilu. No trouble, 6-0. We'll have a look at that from a different angle, Alan. That try, excellent try.
But again, I think perhaps Batley's defence not quite as good as it should be, but it's certainly a beautifully executed move.
Well, we were going to have a look at it, but we better keep up with the run of play as Batley kick off.
8-7 Lucy! 8-7 Lucy!
But what a fillip that is for Keighley. And it's 6-0. So the second place side shaken, really underlining what we've been talking about. There's no real gap of 7 places between these sides.
No, and I think Keighley getting more and more confident as the season's gone on, Keith, and under Peter Rowe's expert guidance, they're going to be quite a formidable side in the second half of the season.
We've had just 5 minutes. Keighley Cougars leading by 6 points to 0. And there we saw yet another excellent kick by Keith Dixon. He really does put in long, deep kicks. Batley being stifled at the moment. They like to play a good open game, but they've been given no opportunity by the tackling. There's Gratian.
Well, certainly the Batley side are quite powerful up front, Keith, as we've said, but they really need to get into the Keighley 22 to use that strength close to the line. I think they're going to be quite dangerous. But at the moment they've been pinned down in their own half for most of this first 5 or 6 minutes.
That's a couple who have been lucky both times. The charge down went straight to the centre, Gary Thornton. That really was an unlucky charge down for Keighley. But now it sets Batley in motion and offside. Well, an opportunity for Steve Parrish to kick at goal and chip 2 points off the lead. But really, that was a lucky break that 2 kicks were charged down and both went to Batley hands.
Yes, they're a bit fortunate there, Batley, and Keighley perhaps a little bit unfortunate. But that was a great run by Gary Thornton down that right wing. And then, of course, 1 or 2 players out of position and offside, middle of the field. which John Whitelam spotted, so a chance to claw back 2 points.
Steve Parish looking for his 46th goal of the season. Yes. Batley on the scoreboard. 6-2 to Keighley. Well, that's the first real visit of the Batley side to the Keighley 22, and they came up with points on 7 minutes. Mark Bonus. 1 or 2 dummy runs there now. Little wriggle, almost forming an obstruction, but Mr. Whitelam looking kindly on it as Mark Scott. Oh, beautifully released. Superb ball. Simon Wilson making 40 metres then. Batley in full cry once more. Keighley getting back quickly. Gratian looking around. Booth. Wilson. Parish. That looked forward. I think the referee agreed.
Well, a great piece of play really from Batley. We've seen now the pace of both number 6s. Excellent distribution from Neil Kellett, number 10 in the picture there in the initial phases, and great support play from Simon Wilson. I think that front row of Batley is going to take a little bit of holding, actually, Keith, because there must be a good 50 or 60 stones there, I think.
What a push by the Batley back. Of course, the weight is there. Batley getting into it now, beginning to tackle hard. That's an adventurous bit of play. Bringing in John Walker. Up to the 22-metre. Keighley penned inside. We're 10 minutes into the first half, and it's Keighley leading by 6 points to 2. Michael Booth just over the 22. So another penalty and another opportunity for Steve Parish. Holding down in the tackle. Batley beginning to get on top at this stage, Alan.
Yes, as if they've stepped up a bit of a gear, Keith, I think, and certainly they've stepped up the pace. And with Michael Booth orchestrating, distributing wide out, it's set up the play. There've been 1 or 2 breaks being made. They've not quite finished it off, but they've got a chance here, obviously, now with Parish kicking so well this season, and he struck the first one quite well, so this should be a bit of a formality.
Keighley haven't been able to get out of their own half since they scored the try. Steve Parish now. Good kick. That's his 47th goal of the season. Both Parish brothers excellent kickers. Mick used to bang them over like that for Oldham. So Batley chipped another couple of points off that early lead with the Keith Dixon try. Batley 4, Keighley Cougars 6. Well retrieved by Sean Wilkinson. That would have been head and ball to Keighley had that been allowed to bounce into touch. Still doing the hard donkey work, Jeff Gratian.
This is a good position though for Keighley. Keith, from that kick-off they haven't got out of their 22 and on the 4th tackle now.
Well, it's certainly the best they've had since Dixon got his try, and we're on the 6th tackle now, so the kick will surely come via standoff half Simon Wilson. But now then, what has Mr. Whitelam seen here? That's a penalty to Keighley. Jeff Gratian querying what it was for. I must admit I was following the flight of the ball there, Alan.
Well, he indicated there that there was a bit of obstruction off the ball, I think, Keith. So as Keighley tried to charge down the kick by Simon Wilson, there's the ball, and is there obstruction? Certainly, yes, by number 7, perhaps with the trip. In fact, there was a trip there which perhaps the referee didn't see, because that could have been an automatic sending off. But certainly it's a penalty.
And it gives Keighley Cougars the opportunity to restore a 4-point lead. John Wassilu, who's taken over from Keith Dixon as primary goal kicker, and got that record 26 points for. There's his 2nd goal of this match.
It's often a ploy, I think, Keith, to try and protect the kicker when they're going for the kick downfield. But that was certainly illegally done. And the penalty quite rightly awarded by John. Well, he did very well to spot that offence.
So Wilson kicks off. 8-4 to Keighley. That looked high-ish. Mr. Whitelam keeping a close eye on things. Carlton Farrell. There's the boot. Being watched by Mark Bonus. Almost up the halfway line. 8-4 to Keighley here at Mount Pleasant. And offside again. Mr. Whitelam very sharp on the offsides. We've had quarter of an hour.
Yes, there's a pity. There seems to be perhaps too many infringements, Keith, which has upset the rhythm of this game so far. And it's been a little bit stop-start. Both sides are capable of playing quite attractive rugby, and they've got people who can make and create openings for their teammates, but at the moment it's just a little bit of a hiccup. Stop-start, not enough continuity.
Mark Scott, the Batley hooker, has shed his skull cap. Towering, charging drive by Neil Kellett. He's really wound himself up now. So Batley going to try. They could put a nice short ball by Gratian, but the cover was there. But they're only 6 or 7 metres out from the Keighley line. Michael Booth wasn't able to get it out as the Cougars, and what a good push right up to 22. Mr. Whitelam shouting held now. Booth, good handler of the ball, Booth, good orchestrator, nice dummy. Oh, that was good rugby, and that was almost a try under the post. The final pass going to ground. between their teeth now. They're 4 points behind, but they were so close.
Yeah, good build up there. Jeff Gresham set it up on the right-hand side, didn't quite get over. Then good piece of play, but still the Keighley defence held on, and that just missed time pass, just lost the opportunity for Batley. But that was a great drive from Neil Kellett earlier on.
Greg Keighley not able to release that ball. Again, another good kick by Keith Dixon. Hamill. Well covered.
Yes, that was a good chase from the kick. The kick's only as good as the chasing forwards, and really that was a very good defensive line from Keighley as Dixon put that ball 50, 60 yards downfield, pushing Batley back again.
And giving them the hard work to do again. Ball lost. Now, Mr. Whiteland appears to have had a kick, I think. I think he got an accidental kick from one of the players there. Head and ball to Keighley. Mr. Whiteland carrying on. Dixon. The first tackle slipped by supporting fullback Butterfield, changing the direction of play. That's Ayres. What a good ball. And what a smashing try. Orthodox move, reversing direction of play to the short side. Made by Ayres. Superbly finished by Walker.
Well, this was a set move. We'd had the scrummage, the ball had gone to the runner side of the field, a quick switch to the left, and there Ayres, who really has the pace on Steve Parish, and he goes past him, and the right winger Paul Marshall is drawn in here and giving a beautifully timed pass to John Waddell. But doesn't he take this well? He's got past Gresham. There's cover from Mark Scott, the hooker. The fullback's there, but he comes inside at such a pace that nobody lays a finger on it. That was an excellently taken try from John Wazilu, but a beautiful piece of distribution once again from Andy Ayres, and both tries have been set up by this scrum half who scored that superb solo try at Central Park last week.
Yes, and there might be questions asked about the Batley defensive line, because John Wassilu was going like a train, but he did get through two defenders on the line, and he's taking the kick now. That's a handsome lead. That's an 8 points lead for Keighley. The Batley faithful midway through this first half getting a little restive because their defence has been caught out twice.
Well, twice by the pace of the halfbacks, Dixon and Ayres, and the finishing on the second occasion with John Wassilu. But Ayres has done particularly well in his distribution on both occasions.
So Batley shaken. They'd had a period of attack in the Keighley half. That's head on ball to Batley because the Keighley defender touched it on its way in. Interesting to see Andy Ayres there, almost like a rugby union halfback, kneeling down.
He's actually been penalised by John Whiteland now, Keith. I don't think he's penalised for kneeling down. I think he's penalised for not retiring.
Well, he just kneeled down like a rugby union scrum half, breathing down the neck of his opposite number.
Yeah, I've not seen a scrum half do that before, and I would advise you to do it again.
So, Batley now close to the line. Sean Tomlinson. Move on, Kellett. Can he release it? Just a matter of inches away from the line. 12-4 to Keighley, but this is Batley almost there. Simon Wilson Parrish, push back. 12 metres out now, and the tackle's running out. Heron, beautifully tackled. Little chip through, oh, nicely taken. Then Tomlinson putting the kick through, but he's beautifully picked up. Carlton Farrell. Well, he's going to go all the way to touch if he's not careful, but it was a good clearing run. He's got it away from the post. Inside the Keighley 22. In fairness to Batley, I think they've shaded it in terms of territorial advantage. It's just that Keighley have had those two marvellously produced breakaway tries.
They certainly have, Keith, and they haven't quite got the firepower, I think, close to the play the ball to actually make much progress against this very powerful, strong Batley pack. But they certainly have got pace wide out, and they've used that to great extent.
Grayson just managing to get it out and tidied up by Marshall. There are a bit of ground lost. That's a good straight running. Parrish, Scott. Now Mr. Whitelam deciding that wasn't a bit of crossing. Nice break. Oh, lovely stuff by the half-back. Excellent handling if they're wide enough. No, it's run to ground. They weren't really wide enough apart then, Alan.
Yeah, good link between the half-backs, but Jeff Grayson getting it away as well, but really a piece of bad finishing by Batley when the chance was on really for them to score a try.
Good work by the hooker Paul Moses. We saw at Wigan last week what an elusive little customer he is. There's that long raking Dixon kick. Really is an excellent field kicker. Well, 4 to Keighley. Quite a turn up this, but in this competitive third division, there's so little between the top clubs. Handed it all the way down to numbers 10 and 11. Grayson wanting to pass the ball, but nobody coming up fast enough then. I think Jeff will be a little cross about that.
He'd already tows somebody with him, Keith, you know, gives them a 30-second warning and brings him with him, but there was nobody there that time, certainly.
In the first half, 12-8 to Keighley at Swasilu. Peter O will be very satisfied with the form of his side so far. They've made the most of limited possession and defended it. Yes, the Mount Pleasant crowd really out of sorts at the moment.
Yeah, not too happy. That wasn't well received by the Batley supporters, but John Whitelam not having any messing about it. Let's get on with the game, and certainly a delay in the play of the ball there as Batley reorganised.
Mark Fairbank. And yes, off again. What an elusive player. Dangerous every time he touches the ball. Mark Fairbank stopped in his tracks. Moses starting that. Bringing in Greg Keighley. Oh, it's kept going beautifully by Keighley. And there's deciding to try to find a gap. and they're really keeping it going, keeping the ball alive. Well, they've a line out on this right-hand side. They're going for a drop through Dixon. Nope. Well, it's the last tackle, so presumably it was worthwhile. But they had a good line out this side.
Yes, there might well have been an overlap on this open side of the field, but Dixon having a go with that left-footed drop kick, and perhaps worth an effort. There's 8 points the margin at the moment. 9 points would have been a nice, comfortable lead for Batley as we come to the last sort of 12 or 13 minutes of this first half.
Batley inside their own half. And behind. Ball, I think he attempted to part with the ball then, and it's Keighley have it again. A lot of errors in this first half by Batley. An adjustment by Paul Moses. There's Ayres again, and just staggered by an ankle tap by Glenn Tomlinson, but Ayres was nearly in, and Keighley, a long one, deflected. That could be well received. That was good defensive work by Sean Tomlinson, and very necessary. Penalty, dragging him.
That was a little bit of an ill discipline really by Keighley. They should have scored because they had the overlap, and then trying to drag somebody into touch. I think all rugby league players ought to know that that's a penalty. And that's certainly what they tried to do. There was a knock-on by Batley. It would have been a Keighley scrum, and they've really thrown that chance away now, which is a pity for them, but a great let-off in a way for Batley.
Parrish. Throwing the ball about like a hot potato at the moment, trying to find a way through. Keighley smothering well. The gap's not appearing. The tackle's running out. Simon Wilson moves it wide. Good tackle on Thornton. Butterfield's clearance run. Offside again, Mr. White, very, very sharp on this. And Jeff Gresham penalised for talking back. Just passing the referee now, Jeff Gresham, having queried his decision, I think is the only way we can put it, Alan.
I think that's the correct description, Keith. Certainly John Whiteley not happy with Jeff Grayson, and that's really put Batley back in their own 22 again.
And you'd expect a 42-year-old man who's been playing since 1968 not to have shown that sort of indiscipline.
He ought to know better, Keith.
You tell him after the match, Alan. But it's Keighley Cougars now going forward, looking for a third try. That's Keighley. And Mark Fairbank in harness, close to the Batley line. Dixon. And they may go for another drop if they don't manufacture a try out of this. What a lot of permutations there were there. It ended up with Carlton Farrell. And it's the last one. Will Dixon go for a drop, or will it be the grubber kick through? No, the drop from the hooker, Paul Moses. It was always on the drop goal at that position. They had Dixon as a decoy and Paul Moses, the man who put it over at 13-4.
Well, it was set up. It was the last tackle, and a beautiful piece of positioning by Paul Moses. And another of the prodigious left-footed kickers here at Keighley. John Wasilou, Keith Dixon, and now Paul Moses with that left boot.
And we have a substitute on for Batley. It's number 15, Mark Spendler. He's gone on for number 10, Neil Kellett. can't you tell by the style? But Waterloo couldn't take it. But the way things are going, Keighley have control of this game.
Well, they've got that bit of extra pace wide out, it seems to me, in Ayres and, of course, in Waterloo. And they're certainly exploiting it.
Unfortunately for Keighley, Waterloo didn't take that particular pass from Andy Ayres, but Andy Ayres is creating a lot of bother, as he did indeed against Wigan last week. Keighley watching closely the playmaker in the pack, that's Michael Booth. There he is again. And Paul Marshall dropped it. Really scrappy stuff this. Batley have been badly shaken. They've only got those 2 penalty goals by Steve Parrish to show for all their efforts. Keighley have scored 2 tries. There's the long one. Andy Ayres is at half back. Keighley. That's Dixon with the kick. James Hamill almost getting in trouble, but and look at that follow-up, Alan. 4 of them were up there.
Yes, that's a great chase again by Keighley. They really are buzzing at the moment, and they're very much on top.
Inside the Batley 22, there's the substitute forward, Mark Spendler. Simon Wilson. Oh, well taken, but well covered. Good handling this by Batley. Well, he might have passed inside, but in the heat of the moment, it wasn't hard. Wayne Heron prevented. I think that's fairly deliberate professional foul, you may say. They didn't want Batley to move too quickly. There's Simon Wilson now.
Yes, certainly Carlton Farrell had covered very well indeed for Keighley. Made a good tackle, but they committed the offence of lying on top.
But it did give them time to regather and regroup the defence. Michael Gould. Now can Batley show something. Spendler. Gratian, oh dear me, it won't happen that way. An involved dummy run, but the ball went to ground, and it looks to me as if Jeff Grayson's limping a bit, Alan.
I think he's been limping for the last 15 years, actually, but yes, he does look as if he had a bit of a knock. He's had troublesome knees and ankles, of course, in his time, and he's definitely hobbling around at the moment.
He is indeed. I mean, the old head's still working, but the legs are not quite taking the messages. Ayres trying to open up a gap. Oh, a fight started in the middle of the pitch for some reason. There's a scrap started in the middle of the pitch. I don't know who started that. It needs some because a try. Now what's the referee going to do? There's a try in the corner by Keighley. Now what will the referee do?
Well, we've got a lot of...
Because there's a fight in the middle with a touch judge on.
Well, certainly John Whiteland's going to have to go back and talk to his touch judges, but that was a superb try we've just seen.
A magnificent try by Keighley. Now there's Andy Ayres. Now the fight's starting just behind him. The touch judge is on. Now half the teams go into the scrap.
But Ayres is looking full of pace, full of confidence. He's been really the inspiration for this Keighley side, and that's a beautiful try. It would be a great pity if he has to disallow it. So John Whiteland having a chat with his friend. I don't think, in fact, that the scrap had anything to do with the try.
Well, no,
itself.
I think the try should stand because Ayres was scooting away when the fight started. But what a super individual touchdown, whether it counts or not.
Well, that'd be a great tragedy, Keith, because
I think he may have given it, because the Keighley players are going across to Andy Ayres and patting him on the back.
And certainly the Batley players are all down behind their own goal line, ready to receive the conversion attempt. And in fact, John Wasilou,
now, what's Mr. Whiteham going to do?
well, he's going to bring in some players, obviously. He's taking his card out. There's the
Well, the
Batley
Batley players are lining up behind the post, so they've conceded the try. There's no doubt about the try, I think, Alan.
Well, certainly, John...
Because the Batley players, while they're asking that now, that's number 5 on the Batley side, that's Mark Bonus is getting a ticking off. So I think it's presumed that he was the man that started it. And he's getting a yellow card. So Mark Bonus goes to the sin bin. We can see the incident, and we've already seen the try.
Well, there's Ayres with the pass, and that's a little runaround he's worked with Greg Keighley. And it's after this incident now. There's the late tackle on the right-hand side, just gone out of picture. And there's the tackle being made. So certainly it was a very late tackle by Mark Bonus. Very late indeed. The try's gone, the conversion attempt's there, and that's just missed the post. So Keighley very much on top, Keith, at the moment.
Well, after all that mayhem and that startling series of incidents, the upshot and the Ayres try, a perfectly good and spectacular one counts, and Keighley Cougars are 17 points to 4 in front. Remarkable, Alan.
Yes, and they really are very good value. They've scored 3 good tries, and Ayres has been involved in all of them, and he really is being a bit of a handful for this Batley side at the moment.
And just checking the man who went off, it wasn't Mark Bonus, the winger, it was in fact a substitute, Gary Spendler, who'd only been on the field 10 minutes. And he started the mini brawl in the centre of the pitch. Well spotted by the touch judge. So, 1 minute left in the first half. Keighley have dropped it. Now, Batley have got to do something in this 1 minute. 17-4 is an enormous mountain to climb in the second half. And they really are rattled. Now, that is Mark Bonus. Batley trailing by 17 points to 4. Gratian, and whose ball is it? It's Batley's ball. A bit untidy.
Yes, Jeff looks in a bit of trouble, Keith.
I wonder if he'll come back for the second half, quite frankly, Alan. But this is sluggish Batley. Oh, and away goes Dixon. Wasilou took it. Oh dear me, it's a rout now. That's Wasilou's second try. Running away with it, literally. In the 40th minute, John Wasilou's second try coming from an error in the Batley defence, and that's 21 points to 4 as those young Keighley fans exult.
Well, it's Batley in possession, but passing straight to Keith Dixon. And Dixon's got legs, but that's a great cover tackle by Batley. But in the tackle, beautiful distribution, and John Wasilou took that superbly, and he's got enough pace to go outside Paul Marshall. He really has got legs, this flying left wing of Keighley, and he's delighted with this. The Akabusi raise your arm aloft salute, which has become a bit of a tradition now. Not one I'm in favour of particularly, but that was a great try, Keith.
What an all-in excellent try. Finished with pace, style and aplomb. And I think Batley, who started this game in second place, would certainly not have envisaged being 21-4 down and a potential 23-4 down at half-time. A stunning blow for Batley and their fans. Well, Wasilou has sufficient breath in his lungs to essay this kick and to put it over. 23-4, what a great game John Wasilou's having yet again. 23-4. That's an awful long way for Batley to come back in the second half, and they've showed no signs of it.
No, they've made far too many handling errors, Keith, when in good positions, and of course, as we said, the pace of Ayres and Dixon particularly, and John Wasilou, have really torn them apart.
And Jeff Grayson again hobbling into position. I really don't think Jeff will resume in the second half. Look at the way he's walking around. Well, Keighley, 4 tries. Beautifully executed. There's the half-time hooter. A great first half for Keighley Cougars. Peter Rowe will be very, very happy about that. The tries: Keith Dixon, a spectacular half-length of the field try. Wasilou, a break on the short side. Individual try by Andy Ayres. And all that Batley have been able to produce a couple of early penalty goals by Steve Parrish. Tremendous first half performance by Keighley. They thoroughly deserve that score. It's quite unexpected, and Batley can be expected to lift their game in the second half. But very, very disappointing for Batley. The crowd here quite stunned by that. Keighley have quite a few fans here today, and they've been loving it, but of course the bulk of the crowd here at Mount Pleasant supporting Batley, and quite stunned by the ineffectiveness of their side in the first half. Yes, there they are, wondering what on earth has hit them, or what on earth has hit their side. Rather glum looks, and the inquest taking place all round. Some very, very serious faces there, and not surprising, with a 19-point lead by Keighley. And one man who will also be pretty worried about all this is a man who, more than most, has had much to do with the Batley revival, not merely as a team but as a club. So much is being done here at Mount Pleasant to not merely build a team but to build a fine stadium, and he is the chairman of the Batley club, Stephen Ball. He's down on the pitch with Alan McInnes.
Stephen, obviously a new development this year. Things are happening at Batley, and we've talked a little about that in the past before. How are things going at the moment as far as you're concerned?
Up to today's game, it was going very well. We put a lot of money into the ground. We've got a quality coach in David Ward. We've attracted old and new players into the team, and hopefully it'll bear its benefits at the back end of the season.
But obviously Keighley today have come, and they've been inspired perhaps by that tremendous display against Wigan last week. They're looking quite a good side, aren't they? It's
80 minutes, and we all know that playing downhill with the Batley slope, it'll be a very different game second half. They've got a good lead which they'll be able to defend, but don't write Batley off yet.
Of course, coming up, sportscasters will be able to see the big derbies over the Christmas period. You've got Batley, Dewsbury and Dewsbury Batley.
That's right, 2 home games for both clubs. We're looking forward to 4,000 gates on each occasion. I think those will be an indicator towards the promotion at the end of the season. Hopefully we can get 4 points from those derby games at Christmas.
And are things going well as far as the share is concerned with the 2 clubs?
Well, Dewsbury are sharing with us for this season until the new ground is ready. They've got a public inquiry on the new ground. We're rugby league men, and we don't want to see Dewsbury up against the wall. They're here for this season, but hopefully they'll be at the new ground for next season.
And the 3rd division, we've seen some tremendous games. That really, Keighley has seen to 9th in the league. Yeah. There's really some good sides in it, aren't there?
Extremely competitive. Every team's capable of beating each other, certainly in the top 11 teams. Keighley have came here today, lie in the position of 9th in the league, and I think it's an excellent competition. The 2nd division concerns me a little bit, with the teams playing each other 4 times and the repetitive nature of that, but certainly as far as I'm concerned, the 3rd division has been a success.
Well, would you be in favour perhaps of changing the set at 4 next year?
Well, I've said it publicly. At the end of the season, we'll have to review and monitor what's gone on this season. It may well be that the 2nd division clubs tell us it's the best things that's ever happened to them. As far as I'm concerned, we'll do that at the end of this season. We've got to concentrate on the football inside and make sure we get some results.
But you're 2nd in the league at the moment. Obviously, as you said, there's another 40 minutes to go, and you've not lost this game yet, but 10 clubs in that 3rd division are quite capable of going into the 2nd division.
That's right. The 3 who I think will be there at the end of the season will be Batley, Dewsbury and Huddersfield. hopefully it'll be a Batley Dewsbury 1-2. But you can't write off any teams, as been shown today. Keighley's come at us and played some remarkable football, the best football we've seen off any team this season.
Well, you're still full of confidence for the second half, Stephen?
Not full of confidence, but don't write us off yet. I think it's 10 feet in slope from crossbar to crossbar. The forwards will come good second half, and I'm confident that we'll certainly peg this score back, and who knows, we might get a result at the end of it.
Right, thanks very much, Stephen, for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Yes, optimism in spite of the odds of a 23-4 scoreline for Keighley from Stephen Ball, the Batley chairman, a really articulate chairman who knows which way he's going and knows which way he wants his club to go. Let's look ahead, so more events on Sportscast. The big one on Wednesday, live on Sportscast in the Rumbelows Cup local derby here in the Northwest. Manchester United against Oldham, exclusively live on Sportscast at 7:50 p.m. We have horse racing from Kelso tomorrow, and then more racing at Southwell on Wednesday. Uttoxeter on Thursday, so a glut of sport. Monday, Wednesday and Thursday, live horse racing, all at 12 noon. Then we have boxing, the usual 30-night day for boxing from Peterborough on Thursday. And next Sunday we'll be at Guildford Park to see top second division game, Carlisle against Rydale York. Great action Sportscast, also of course live rugby league tomorrow night at Scarborough against Dewsbury. So a great week of live action on Sportscast. In the meantime, back to the present moment, and Alan McInnes has rejoined me. That was interesting, Alan, listening to that interview. I gather Stephen Ball would like to see a new formation in the second and third division next season. Rather than 8 in the second division, he'd like to see it perhaps 2-12, something like that.
Well, I think he wants to listen to what the second division clubs have got to say and what reaction they have to their particular format that it's had this year. But I have a feeling I think he'd like to make it rather larger than it is at the moment. Playing one another 4 times I don't think is part of his theory. He thinks the third division's been successful, but perhaps the second division is too small.
Yes, lots of people talking about 2-12s. Well, now we can look at some of the action in the first half. It's pretty well one-way traffic with Keighley scoring 4 tries.
Well, superb distribution from Ayres now, drifting across. There's the dummy on the inside, and Dixon takes that ball superbly, just getting in between the two Batley players. Now here is the change of pace, and that has completely fooled James Hamill, the Batley fullback, and he's left in his wake. That's a desperate attempt to tackle him, but he got nowhere near him in the end, and that really has depicted the difference between these two sides, Dixon and Ayres, the pace of these two halfbacks, and of course the finishing from John Wazilu.
Yes, James Hamill cleanly beaten, as he was to be done a little later by John Wazilu, but of course you've got to feel sorry for a fullback, Al. I mean, he's standing still, and of course the attacker's moving.
Well, Dixon was in full flow, but the beauty about Dixon in that situation was that superb change of pace and that showing great control at almost top pace, and that's a sign of a very good athlete.
The Keighley tries, indeed, all 4 executed at top speed. There wasn't a bad scrappy try among them. John Wazilu got 2, and every time we see this man, he improves. So let's look at the second try.
Well, again, it was a switch in play from the right to left-hand side, and Ayres just has the edge and pace on Parrish. And with the winger drawn in, Wazilu seems to have a clear run in, but there's good cover from the hooker and good cover from the fullback, but he takes it at such pace. He came in beautifully. Another good piece of timing from John Wazilu, and really a try worth savouring. It was a well set up try. The move had come from the scrum, the distribution had gone to the right hand side, and then a quick change in direction with Ayres showing that superb pace of his that he showed in that individual try last week.
Andy Ayres, an absolute jewel of a signing towards the end of last season by Keighley, and perhaps the best scrum half. There are quite a few good ones. On this evidence, perhaps the best scrum half in the 3rd division, and as good as most in the 2nd and some of the 1st.
Well, we've seen Glenn Thompson in this first half, and Stephen Ball was raving about his Australian, Glenn Thompson, but he's been struggling a little bit with the support he's got and the mistakes that have been made, so they've not really got into any real pattern of play of Batley.
Well, if you remember, the 3rd Keighley try was quite a remarkable one, in which we didn't know whether to watch the scrap in the middle of the park or Andy Ayres.
Well, there was a big scrap, but there's a lot of pace there from the young number 7, and he's really showing his legs. There's the scrap going on. In the meantime, Andy Ayres, who hasn't got eyes in the back of his head, says, well, I might as well score a try. And John Whitelam's up with play. It was the touch judges who came on and sorted it out. And, of course, we had Mark Spendler sent to the sin bin.
Let's have a look at the last try as the teams come out.
Well, again, it was Batley in possession, but when the ball was flung back, there's Michael Booth with the ball, and it goes on to Simon Wilson, but Wilson's pass is intercepted. And there, although Dixon's got pace, beautiful distribution and a great catch by John Wazilu, and he's got just the edge on his opposite number for Marshall, and he's really enjoyed scoring that try. It was a great take by John Wazilu and a superb finish.
The teams are back, and Jeff Grayson's come back on with a big bandage on his right knee, Alan.
Yes, well, he has had problems with that knee before, but he's an old fox, is Jeff, and I think those are the sponsors from Batley as well, really. But he's a wily old customer. He'll stick around, and you never know. Certainly close to the line, he'll still manage to get that ball away in the tackle, and he could still cause some havoc. But with Kellett going off the field early on, I was just wondering whether, in fact, he's injured, Neil Kellett, and that would obviously cut down the strike force of this Batley side.
It just shows the faith that Batley have in Jeff Grayson, that they think even a limping Jeff Grayson can still be effective. And here come Keighley Cougars, brimful of confidence. Peter Rowe, their coach, will have said, no panics, do nothing stupid in the 2nd half. We've got this 17-point lead, let's not blow it. The only problem, of course, with playing like that, and Jeff knows his own system better than most, is the more you play at it, the more you aggravate.
Well, that is the problem, and if it is serious, he ought to be off the field. Perhaps they've said we'll give it a couple of minutes, see how it goes, and then we'll perhaps put Kellett back on again. But he is really in a bad way, Jeff, by the looks of it.
I think he must have asked to come back, and I don't. Oh, knock on. I don't think any coach would have told a player. Now, the inevitable is happening. The old warhorse has got to bow to his injury. No, he's shaking his head. I can't really run on it. Nobody will regret that more than Jeff, and Neil Kellett, who was taken off, which looks as if it was a tactical substitution then.
But he certainly doesn't look injured. He's looking pretty heavy. Neil, he's a big boy, he's the number 10.
Now,
but
Batley, can they get the points they desperately need to make any sort of match of this? There's Kellett in the action. It's 23 points to 4 to Keighley. And Jeff Grayson's having an ice pack put on as Tomlinson goes, and a knock on and a terrible mess there. Tomlinson at last showed his potential, but it hit Wilson on the chest.
yes, great little break from Tomlinson. The distribution wasn't quite right, and Wilson knocked it on.
I think we'll see a lot of fire from Batley in this half. Indeed, they went in there and they forced a drop out. And indeed,
well, that's where they are dangerous, of course, and that's where Keighley will have quite a job trying to get away from play the ball, certainly close to the ruck, inside their own 22, because their defence is very strong in that area, and Keighley haven't quite got the firepower to match that very strong forward presence from this Batley team.
Hamill. Batley have an awful long way to go to overhaul this lead. 23-4 to Keighley. Michael Booth, but of course an early try would give them a lot of encouragement and Stephen Ball was saying in that interview with Alan that don't write us off yet.
Well, they've had a good season. They've only lost one game in the league, Keith, and they want to keep up there with the leaders.
Kellett, obviously been told to get back on there and run your weight. Michael Booth, the high hanging bomb, superbly taken. Good catch.
Jeff Butterfield has looked particularly safe under all sorts of kicks that have come to him, Keith. In the first half, they're mainly long ones, but that one was a great piece of rugby fullback play.
Little wriggle by Paul Moses, astute little hooker. Batley ready to reintroduce Gary Spendler into the action. He had that 10-minute spell in the sin bin. Now Batley on attack. Well, an attempted dummy by Wilkinson. Now can they... Kellett striving for the line. That's good handling. Oh, and again the final pass goes adrift. Batley opening up the Keighley defence, but it's the final pass that's going to ground.
Yeah, that was a superb piece of play by Batley. A great build-up, and they had the overlap on this right-hand side. As that distribution there from Simon Wilson. Full back in the line, but look where the pass went by the left shoulder. So Gary Thornton couldn't quite take it. Otherwise, that surely should have been a try for Batley. Just what they wanted.
They're still waiting to reintroduce Mark Spendler to the action, of course, after his sin binning. There he goes. And Keighley Cougars in this first 5 minutes of the second half penned in their own 22. But of course they were in the first half, and they have this cushion of getting Waiabacus out, 19-point lead. And that's the way they cleared it so often in the first. What a tremendous kicker Keith Dixon is. Spectacular kicker. He gained all of 70 metres then.
It's a great kick from Mark Dixon. And of course, the first time they tried the kick, Dixon knocked on, and that's why Batley been able to put that little bit of pressure on them. But Keighley have withstood it. They've come away now, and they're now in Batley's half. And so they'll feel much more secure now, although, of course, Batley are back to full complement.
Said that Mark Spendler's absence made the difference in the first half because the tries were scored while he was on the field. Now Batley going the short side. Simon Wilson. Now if he can get that, it's certainly all on. Good kick and follow up by Simon Wilson.
And good cover by Andy Ayres, Keith. We've noticed Ayres in attack particularly, but that was good cover defence from him, and unfortunately he's looking injured here. Let's hope that's not too serious as far as Keith is concerned. But both Andy Ayres and Paul Moses have both covered very intelligently in certain situations at the back of this Keighley defence.
Peter Rose, the Keighley coach, standing up in the grandstand looking rather worried. He doesn't want Andy Ayres of all people to get hurt. There's the Keighley physiotherapist we've seen many times on Sportscast.
Well, while the physio's treating the number 7, the play's going on.
With action resuming. Yet again, Dixon kicks coolly under pressure, this time to the halfway line, picked up by Paul Marshall. No doubt about it, Batley have started in lively fashion in this second half.
Well, I'm sure David Ward will have had some quite strong words to say at half-time, knowing the former Leeds player and coach. He doesn't stand any nonsense, and he certainly would want his side to play better. They've made far too many mistakes in that first half.
Well, that was a bad pass from Mark Bonus. Right down, and I think a fist went in there. It's a penalty to Keighley.
Well, it's been that, it always is the last pass, of course, Keith, but it's the vital one which seems to have been missing as far as Batley concerned. On 2 occasions now, having made the decisive break, they've not been able to finish it off with a little bit of sloppy finishing. And of course they're playing a little bit of what they call catch-up rugby these days, and they've got to be a little bit more ambitious perhaps than they were in the first half.
Well, 19 points is an awful lot to catch up, and Batley could have done with 6 points early on. They had the chances, but passes have gone to earth twice with overlaps. And the Ayres is back in the action. Oh, that was weak tackling. And that was a bad pass. Good break, bad pass from Mark Fairbank.
Yes, another set move there with Paul Moses, the hooker, on a little bit of a runaround, and then the number 10, Mark Fairbank, hitting the defensive line and breaking through, but a bit of a poor finish.
Wilkinson. That's a good break. What a good second row forwards break. Terrific stuff that by Wayne Heron. Not seen much of Wayne, brother of David, in this match so far, but that was a beautiful piece of work. Nice, good. Oh dear me, did that go behind him? No, the knock-on's been given. So yet again, for the third time, a clear chance and a knock-on.
Well, David Ward hasn't got a lot of hair, but I'm sure he'll be tearing what bit he's got out. Here's the distribution. Beautiful piece there from Wilson, but it was knocked forward by James Hamill as he came into the line, and the chance was lost, even the interception at the end. So nothing quite going right for Batley at the moment. And Keighley, although they've been down in the 22 for most of this second half, they're hanging on to that 19-point lead.
Yes, and the ball's been lost. That was lucky that it went backwards. 19 points, an enormous gap, because it's at least 3 converted tries before you get anywhere near. Keighley not being allowed to dominate as they did in the first half, but Batley squandering the chances. Dixon spinning that one, but Hamill watching it carefully. Well, he's not got much support over this side. Acting half-back Gary Thornton, joint leading try scorer for Batley with 9, Tomlinson's the other, but they've had few chances. That was beautifully released, and good cover tackling. Penalty, not letting him play the ball. That often happens, Alan, to allow defences to regroup. A little shove to stop a man getting up.
Yes, a bit of a professional foul, as they say, Keith, but John Whitelam has been very hot on that today. He's been penalised, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and so the sides ought to know what to expect from him.
Spendler. Batley yet again visiting the Keighley 22, trailing 23 points to 4, but doing everything but score so far in this second half. Parrish. Again, good defence by Keighley, but every time it's moved wide to the right, the Keighley defence looks vulnerable. But yet again another error. David Ward, as you say, must be, I was about to say, following up your little comment, hairless, but with David that's not quite applicable.
Well, that was a needless pass from Kellett, and very, very ambitious. I mean, it wasn't even a 50-50 ball there, and rather a waste of a good build-up there that Batley got from the penalty.
Fairbank getting the ball away. Little dummy by Moses. Who else?
Yes, he's had a very good game, Moses. A little terrier around that play the ball situation, ever looking for the little break, and good quick distribution when required.
Now can Batley take advantage of that? Oh, that's good running by Thornton, but good cover. Wilkinson wasn't able to get it out. He's played it to himself and dropped it. Played it to himself and dropped it in the act of going over. That's the way it's going for Batley.
Well, nothing's going right for them. That was a beautiful break, a beautiful set move between the centre that's taking place, and then of course he played it to himself. I don't think he actually let go of the ball then, but he certainly did there, and he lost it, and that's another chance gone. That's 3 chances at least that Batley have had in this first quarter of an hour, Keith, that they've missed all 3 of them.
Yes, David Ward must really be thinking that had his players finished their chances, they could now be putting pressure on Keighley. I can't imagine Peter Rose enjoying this, because his side has been in their own 22 since the second half started.
Well, there's still plenty of time, Keith, and the way Batley are playing, they really have got to score sometime, you'd think. But Keith, they're quite likely to make a try really from anything, and they've got the pace to finish off from even inside their own 22.
Marshall. We're quarter of an hour into the second half, 25 minutes left, as you say, Alan. There have been points avalanches before. Kellett getting that away to Wilson. Featherstone Rovers had that amazing runaway of 9 tries against Halifax last week, so it can happen. Penalty to Batley.
And John Whitelam's having a word
Moses?
with Moses, I think, and with
the
Mark
skipper
Fairbank.
Greg Keighley, I think, too.
Probably said something untoward, Keith.
Well, now Batley yet again, as you say, Alan, surely they must get some points soon. It's been endless attack. Spendler, yellow forward from the Keighley fans there, but it wasn't. Not in Mr. Whitelam's eyes. The moves come, yes, surely. Well, can he touch down? That's a try. Nothing wrong with that. Good follow-up by Marshall. And it had to come.
Yes, a good try from Glenn Tomlinson. Eventually, it was a bit of a scrappy affair in the end, and they really almost made a mess of it then, but bit of a set move here as the ball comes out. There's Booth in the action once again, but we'll have to go back to the start, I think, for that looks as if it stopped. There it is, and there is Gary Thornton. The ball goes down, Tomlinson kicks it over, and at last they've broken their duck, and Batley have scored the try. Ball swung out wide. There's Tomlinson in the act with the little run around with Booth. It's the dummy, and then in comes the centre. There is Gary Thornton. The ball goes down, and there it is, Tomlinson, the scrum half, diving over in the corner.
His 10th try of the season. Vital kick this. It's not going to go over, but that could be just the encouragement that Batley need now to come right back into it. They deserve that.
Well, they could have scored at least another 2 tries, Keith, but they haven't done, and that's the way the game has gone. They've played virtually all this second half in the Keighley half, but there's still plenty of time left.
Then Tomlinson's... Oh, that was intelligent kicking off, that was. Made the 10-metre mark. Dixon. So instead of Batley getting possession, Keighley have it. And that's the first time they've really been inside the Batley half since the second half started.
Yes, certainly Dixon's got pace, and he also had opportunity and awareness there. Beautiful piece of play from him, and it's built up a little bit of pressure now on Batley for the first time in the second half, as you said, Keith.
23-8. Still a long way to go for Batley, but they've got the only try of the second half and their first try. But here's Ayres again. We're on the last, an attempted drop, an ambitious one. Well watched by Hamill. The crowd getting quite excited now, because although it's still a huge gap of 15 points, Batley have shown that the Keighley defence can be broken. That was well picked up by Wilson. Batley's still inside there. I think David Ward's told him to move it wide, keep it moving. Oh, beautiful overlap by Wilkinson. Good running by Batley.
Well, Keighley always just had that edge, I think, Keith. That was great cover again from Keith Dixon. He showed remarkable pace in covering across there, and there was no opportunity really for the Batley three-quarters to keep that ball in their hands. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have gone in touch. So it was an intelligent kick, but it looks as if it may well have given Keighley possession from the scrum.
Midway through the second half, it's Batley 8, Keighley 23. What a good push that was by Batley. It didn't win the ball. Ayres gets it away. But give Batley credit, David Ward keyed them up.
Well, he certainly will have motivated them at half-time to increase their effort. But certainly that was one area which seemed to be lacking in the first half, and try to cut down their error rate. Well, they haven't cut down their error rate so much because they've made all those mistakes close to the line. But
Ayres again getting it out. Walker. Not buried. Oh, look at that interception by Parrish. Now that wasn't happening in the first half. Now that could have been a penalty, just a little rollover. But Batley again attacking on this right-hand side where they've done so much danger, and it's always that short ball from Simon Wilson that seems to open up the gaps. Spendler. Hamill up in the line. Excellent stuff this by Batley. Wilson. Michael Booth well smothered, but got it out so well. This is tremendous stuff by Batley, and good tackling by Keighley. And it's Batley continuing. Marshall. They're close to the line. Tomlinson. They have a man on the deck. Booth. Kellett. Gosh, that was furious tackling.
Body's been tackled all over the place there, Keith. I think there was people being tackled off the ball. They were taking the runners. Kellett was trying to get that ball out there, but I think the ball has gone forward. John Whitelam stopping the clock. But Keighley are really being stretched by Batley now, and there's a little bit more continuity in the Batley play without the mistakes.
Now, the touch judge has been on. A player from each side. But of course, he can either award a scrum or he can give a penalty.
If he's giving the warning, it may well be just play on. I'm not so sure, Keith. We'll see.
Head and ball to Keighley. Keighley absolutely being stretched. If Batley had played like this in the first half, he wouldn't have had a scoreline of 23-8 to Keighley. But they took their chances. They scored 4 splendid tries. And, of course, they'll be glad to see the seconds ticking away.
Well, they're really moving up in defence now. Keighley are going to have a job getting out of this 10-metre area.
Unless, of course, they run offside, which they were doing a great deal in the first half. There's Dixon. What value he's been with those long kicks, but Camille doesn't have quite so far to run this time. It's back in the Batley attacking territory, where they've done so much damage without finishing it off in the second half. Booth getting it out well. Wilson. Tomlinson. Finding bonus. Away goes Tomlinson. Well, he's coming to his own this half. Had a quiet first half. It was overshadowed by Ayres, but Batley looking for a try again. Hooker, Scott going on his own and getting to within 6 or 7 meters. It's the last tackle of this sequence. Can they move it wide quickly enough? They're trying it down the middle, but again it goes to ground. 6 more. That was lucky. It hit a defender who was lying on the ground. 6 more. Luck going to Batley as Kellett tries to go it alone. Now then, they must move it wide. They're meant to spare Spendler, but good tackling by Keighley. Batley know they're in with a chance. Again, Wilkinson tried 2 single-handed drives in the 6 tackles. Intricate little move. Well, we're on the last tackle now, so this has been a sequence of 12, and Batley haven't made it count yet. Booth, is it for... Oh, what a bounce! What a bounce, a try! Is he... No, he's pointing for a dropout.
It could well be a dropout, Keith. Yes, in fact, the kick has gone up John Whiteland's right leg, but we can see the build-up as the ball comes out on the last tackle, little chip through, and it just hits that left-hand post, bounce away from Jeff Butterfield, but it's touched down, and so we've got a dropout from under the post. But that was a great piece of defence by Keighley, and perhaps Batley a little bit frustrated.
It's Batley yet again hammering the Keighley line. Just one try to show for it. Scott has gone off. Michael Booth gets it out to Tomlinson. Batley desperate for another score that could give, and that's surely a penalty. That's got to be a penalty. The Keighley defender made no effort whatever to get out of the way. Batley knew what he was doing, Alan. But let's see this now, because Batley looking, and they constantly turn it inside.
Well, perhaps they haven't got the confidence to move it out, Keith, because they've made so many mistakes when they move it out. But this looks promising. They're very, very close.
Well, within the last 2 minutes, they've had 18 consecutive play the balls. Now the sub is on for Scott. Oh, unlucky. And yet again it goes to ground, and really Batley have thrown away so many chances. Andy Williams is the sub on for Mark Scott. But Alan, I don't think I've seen a side have so much ball, make so many chances and spill the ball quite so often.
It's true they have made mistakes, Keith, but fair credit to Keighley, because they have really defended very well indeed. A set of 18 tackles then, and they're coming out and they could well score.
Here's Wasilou again. Good cover tackle by Booth. Batley's work rate in this second half has improved 100%. They've rattled Keighley, but still that huge margin of 15 points, 23-8. Timeout.
Looks like an injury to Paul Marsh. In fact, it's Simon Wilson, I think, Keith, at number 6. who made that tackle on Mark Fairbank.
Batley attacking throughout the whole of the second half. We'll have a look at that incident.
As Keighley, in the form of Mark Fairbank, drifts across. There's the tackle made by Keighley. He's gone underneath. In fact, it's Mark Fairbank who's gone down on the top of Simon Wilson. So let's hope it's not too serious. He's not looking too good there. But at least...
I think he's got a crack on the head.
It was Mark Fairbank, of course, who was on top of him, and he's quite a big lad, of course, Mark Fairbank, with a 15 or 16 stone landing on top of little
he's
Simon
in a lot
Wilson's
of pain.
head.
Well, Simon Wilson, who's been so effective in this second half. Dixon again, astute kick, but going dead, so a restart from the 22. Booth restarts for Batley. "11 minutes left for Batley to score at least 3 times. Well, what was happening there? It's got to be a penalty, a little interference by Colin Hanford. A little bit of spoiling there.
Well, Neil Kellett had the ball in his hands, and he seemed to me to just lose it, but Keith Dixon, the Keighley number 6, was accused of pinching it, but this is the contentious law, Keith.
So Batley getting the rub of the green in this. Honestly, how about the air's blue in the Batley dugout? That was Spendler spilling a simple pass.
I think the problem, Keith, is really they've got so frustrated they had to obviously try and be a bit more ambitious in the second half, keep the ball alive, but by doing so they've made too many mistakes. It is a bit greasy out there, but really they've made far too many for a professional side who are second in the 3rd division.
What an amazing turnaround, because in the first half Keighley manufactured 4 excellent tries. They've not created one try-scoring move in this second half. They've not been allowed to. Well taken by Hammett. As far as David Ward's concerned, the Batley side only started when the game was halfway through, and they're bunching a bit at the moment. The whole of the pack are wandering around in the middle of the park, getting into position now. Michael Booth, Spendler. Oh, that's a nice ball, but why on earth did he try to throw it? Just hurled it.
Well, that's the frustration. That was Steve Parrish, who's normally such a controlled player, but that really was a mistake which you wouldn't expect a professional player to make.
He looked to his right, saw no support there, and then just hurled it to the left. Fairbank. Keighley have really been shaken in this second half, but they have this, and they're probably glad of it, this cushion. Carlton Farrell. Oops. Ayres getting that away well. They still have it. Oh, that's a knock on by Dixon. Referee waiting to see if any advantage accrues. It doesn't, so it'll be a knock on and head and ball.
Keith Dixon, who made the mistake. He's had a good game at the number 6, but a little mistake there, unfortunately for him, as that little set move with the run around, and then he knocked it forward.
Well, time running out for Batley now. They've dominated this second half without turning dominance into points. Simon Wilson, Thornton. into the Keighley half. Batley 8, Keighley 23. Booth, Wilson, Spendler. Good strong run. Oh, he's lost it. He's lost it. That'll be a scrum. An allegation that the ball might have been, but really, young Mark Spendler showing his inexperience and making errors.
He's not had a happy time really since he came on, Keith. He's made one or two mistakes, unfortunately, which have upset the Batley rhythm, and they've lost possession from it.
And so Keighley get possession. That was a bang. I think there's an injury there. I think... No, Mr. Whitelam says he's all right. But Mr. Whitelam very quick to move in then. It looked as if the Keighley player, Phil Stevenson, had got a crack. There's quick transfer. There's kick. Hamill chase. The ball in touch. Head and ball, but very close. That's the nearest Keighley have been to the Batley line in half an hour in the second half. More than half an hour.
Yes, in the first half, Keighley saw some superbly organised attacking rugby from Keighley. In the second half, we've seen a very well marshalled defence against perhaps a disappointing Batley side who've made too many mistakes.
And now the Batley have been driven back, and the Keighley fans in that corner supporting their side. If Keighley can keep play down there, all is up with Batley. They've had their chances, they've blown them. Keighley have them where they want them now. Well, Stephen Ball, the Batley chairman, said don't write us off, and certainly Batley have fought back in this second half, but they've just not scored the point. Just a one try by Tomlinson to show for consistent attacking and unfortunately equally consistent errors. Booth, that's going to be Wassilu's. There's had a knock. There's Stevenson. That's Phil. Moses and Ayres and Dixon. Best spell for Keighley this half. Almost the only spell. Although they've done some tremendous defending.
Yes, Batley have had most of the possession in the second half, Keith, and they've taken advantage of it, certainly territorially. Of course, they've not taken advantage as far as scoring tries are concerned.
Just 4 minutes left in the second half, and one has to say, unless there's an absolute purple patch and scoring miracle, time running out now for Batley, Alan.
Yes, it looks like a well-deserved Keighley victory, Keith. They've tried scoring in the first half and tremendous defence in the second half, plus the ability of Batley to finish off. Perhaps they can do it now.
Good break by Tomlinson. A good cover again by Keighley. Stifling bonus. So there's 3 minutes left, but there could be a lot of injury time. But whether or not that's time enough for Batley to score 3 tries and the odd goal or two remains to be seen. Coolly picked up by Wassilu. What a game he's had. 2 tries and 3 goals. Personal total of 14 points in this 23. Real scoring machine. No point in hurrying. It's all valuable seconds. There's always ready to essay a break himself. Moses is acting half-back, and he kicks. It's a nice one too. Simon Wilson decides not to risk a knock on, but of course that's where Keighley wanted, in the Batley half.
Yeah, it's a good kick again from Moses. He's had a good game with Sucker. Simon Wilson out on the right wing, of course. He's been struggling with a bit of injury. He's had 1 or 2 knocks in the game, and so Batley in the end have become a little bit more disorganised with the injury to Jeff Grayson and injury to Simon Wilson.
Thornton. Batley have tried so hard in this half. If the slate could have been wiped clean at half-time, Batley would have been in front now. They've scored the only points in the second half, but they've missed too many chances. Kellett. Move. Parrish. Nice short ball to Hamill. But he's no one free. That was good shadowing by the Keighley defence, but Batley keep going. Well, they may have the last word, even if it's too late to affect there is. Oh, Simon Wilson acrobatic, having to catch it behind his back. He had to throw it. That's all right. And again, it's backwards. Marshall.